Now, one of this year's big BBC dramas is Our Girl. It stars Lacey Turner and is the story of Molly Dawes, who takes her destiny into her own hands and joins the British Army as a medic. Well, alongside her is Captain James, played by Ben Aldridge, and Iwan Rheon, who plays Smurf, who both vie for Molly's attentions with disastrous consequences on the battlefield. Well, the DVD of the series is released today, and Ben and Iwan told me how they prepared for the drama, which was based in Afghanistan.
As part of the kind of, before we even started filming, we did quite intensive boot camp, and involved in that there was a lot of theory from people who have been out on the ground and experts in the field who came and spoke to us about, you know, various different things that, and different ways of fighting, the different dangers and all the things that actually go on in Afghanistan. And so that was invaluable, really, because it kind of got our minds into what it's actually like, what it would feel like to be out on the ground there.
What's the biggest thing that you learnt? Do you know, was the one thing that you were told that you thought, wow, you know, I would never have thought that?
The scary thing is the idea that you don't see the enemy, and the thing they kind of try to have that in the show, that you don't know where these bullets are coming from, and that's one of the scariest things.
What do you think the themes of the show were? Because there were so many different elements, weren't there? Effectively, there was one area that was a love story, there was another that actually we were looking at women's role in the army. Do you think that in that respect it ticks a lot of boxes as a drama?
I think so, yeah. I think it tried to cover a lot of things, like the two that you mentioned, and then also I think it touched upon our involvement in Afghanistan, and also our involvement with the local ISF that fight with the British Army, and the kind of tensions that run there. And also I think it touched upon why we are there as well, and the work we've done. As well,
it reflected maybe that when you've got men and women together, potentially you're always going to get the situation which we did in this drama, with the two men obviously vying for attention for Lacey Turner's character.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know that it always happens, but the story definitely exists for a reason. You know, I was definitely told in kind of my research that it is quite a common thing for that to happen, even though it's against protocol and it's kind of risky, and you know, people know they shouldn't be falling for each other in that high pressure situation where there's near loss of life, where there is possibly a lone female in a section of men. There becomes an increased kind of sense of care. It's a very heightened situation, not that I know personally, but from talking to people, it's a definite possibility. Yeah,
I thought when I was watching it, for somebody that was reading the script for this, it was probably a real page turner, wasn't it? Because every time you turned the page was like, oh wow, didn't expect that to come.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we initially only, I think Una and I only had the first two scripts, but whilst we were auditioning, and yeah, they were pretty compelling. I think also because it's kind of a setting in a situation that you rarely see and don't really know the details of, like how the conflict is fought. So I was pretty mesmerised by those details and by how it works, you know, and the bond between the soldiers, the bond between the captain and the soldiers, you know, what it was like for a female medic. Yeah, definitely quite compelling.
Yeah, and I think it's a new subject in a way to follow. You know, there's a lot of things following men around that kind of situation, but to have the central character being a woman, it was really nice, I think, to explore that's what kind of drew me to it.
And where did you film all of this?
South Africa.
Yeah.
What was that whole experience like?
Hot.
Really, really sweaty. Yeah, it was brilliant. It's a brilliant country. It's an incredible place. We got to see some amazing sights and filmed in some really stunning locations. We'd often turn up, all of us together, and kind of be mesmerised by the mountains, by the view, by the weather that we were always in. It was great. It was a really great place.
So when you turned up, you know, you can imagine watching it that you're in the middle of nowhere, but actually was there a luxury hotel park right next to you?
No. No. We travel like an hour and a half from where we were, which was like reasonably, it was outside of Cape Town, reasonably remote anyway. But yeah, we travel like through the mountains and quite kind of windy, crazy roads to get to where we shot. And some of our locations were quite tricky to get to. There was one where there's only kind of like a kind of very dodgy track up, and only one bus could go up at a time, and you know, getting all the equipment up there was a nightmare, and getting it down and stuff. So we were quite remote, which was great for us, you know, in the playing of it as well. You know, we couldn't like turn around and there weren't hotels or civilization there. It was pretty, well, apparently quite close to what it looks like in Afghanistan as well, so it was cool.
And more from Ben and Iwan from Our Girl in a couple of moments. 10 minutes away from 4 with Queen on BBC Radio Manchester. Afternoon to Ben Aldridge and Iwan Rheon. They starred in Our Girl, the recent BBC One drama, now available as a DVD for you to buy. Both have worked extensively in TV, with Ben starring in Lockrise to Candleford and Iwan somewhat famously starring in Game of Thrones. We'll come to that in a couple of moments' time. I shall warn you, there's a bit of a spoiler alert now, so if you've not yet seen the series and you don't know what happens at the end, then just go away for a couple of minutes, because Iwan talked about the moment that he realised that his character Smurf was going to die in the series.
Well, it's difficult to do because you want to, it happens and you want to try and represent it respectfully and truthfully on screen. So it's quite a stressful thing to do, I find, because it was very, very sad.
And Ben,
Oh,
do you think it was right that you always got the girl?
Oh, I don't know. We didn't know which way that was going to go until quite late on as well.
We had no idea.
It was kind of like a bit.
I was shocked.
Of course you were. I mean, I knew I was going to win. No, but it was a bit of a surprise. It was kind of quite useful that we didn't know, in a way.
I can imagine that's quite interesting when you're actors and you invest in characters and you see which way the characters go. I mean, in some respects, Ben, were you thinking, oh great, I got the girl, and you were thinking, what went wrong here then?
Yeah.
Iwan was gutted.
Inconsolable.
Yeah, that's why he died.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I mean, he was a lovable character, wasn't he? And that must be interesting for you after playing the horrendous part that you did in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. It's nice to play sort of, because I mean, in Game of Thrones it's so heightened and it's a different world and that, so it's nice to play like a real bloke from the street kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was nice to not have to worry about an accent for the first time in my career. So it was quite nice. I just had to learn my lines. I was worried it was going to expose me, but hopefully it hasn't.
He smashed it.
And Game of Thrones has just been this phenomenal success. When you read again that on paper, did you think, okay, is this really going to work in the way that it did?
Yeah, I had no. Yeah, I mean, by the time I joined it, it was already it was on its way, and then it kind of really blew up after series 3. I mean, it's just a phenomenon. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and it's incredible. I mean, it's just lovely to be in a program that's like that.
And what about the two of you going forward? What are you up to next?
I'm going to be doing another series of Vicious and releasing an album, which I've just finished recording.
Okay. What sort of music's that?
I don't know, it's kind of just singer-songwriter type of thing, but it's quite produced to the band stuff, yeah. But I've been doing music for a while now, this is kind of my first full-length album.
Ben?
I'm going to be off to Canada to do a bit of filming on a series, and then I shall continue to be singing in my bedroom.
Without the recording contract?
Yeah, without the recording contract.
There's always YouTube.
Just really good in the mirror. It's really fun.
There are so many ways now to get your talent out there.
Oh, true, yeah.
And this is a great Christmas present, isn't it? Because it's going to be available on DVD, the complete series, available now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great time to buy for Christmas.
Anything different on the DVD to get a few extras and so on?
I think there is. There's a behind the scenes. Yeah.
There's a documentary on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I
think probably maybe some interview stuff from us. I think anyway.
And if you missed it on the BBC, well worth a look if you get the opportunity this Christmas. 3 minutes away from 4 the time.
Thank you for the day.